Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyagari Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnuvad Puruman Suparipaj Kacharja Ashtotar Satashi Shrimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Haribo, welcome everyone, and thank you Maharaj, and thank you Panchatattva Prabhu for the kirtan, and welcome everyone to tonight's Caitanya Caritamrta reading with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Thursday, July 6th, 2023, and we are reading in the Adi Leela, chapter 6. Looks like tonight we're either starting at text 42 or 43.
42.
Jai, thank you so much for being with us, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Akendra Prabhu, and thank you to all here in Alachua and online. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Shahagana Raghunatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deen Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Muripriye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhopyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In this section of Chaitanya Charitamrta, we're hearing about Sri Advaita Acharya. In the previous verse, it was said that because of his seniority, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always respected him. Now we find Chaitanya Gosai ke Acharya Gori Prabhu Gyan Aponake Kodentar Dasha Abhiman. Sri Advaita Acharya, however, considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his master and thinks of himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami explains the super excellent quality of devotional service as follows. Brahmanando Bhavedesha Chet Prarartha Guni Kritaha Naiti Bhakti Sukhambo Te Manu Tulamapi. If multiplied billions of times, the transcendental pleasure derived from impersonal Brahma realization still could not compare to even an atomic portion of the ocean of bhakti or transcendental service. Similarly, the Bhavarta Deepika, that's Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, states, Tvatkatamrta pato thau viharanto mahamudaha kurvanti kritina kechit chaturvargam tranopamam. For those who take pleasure in the transcendental topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the four progressive realizations of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, all combined together, cannot compare any more than a straw could to the happiness derived from hearing about the transcendental activities of the Lord. So here we have impersonal realization, rejected as inferior, and Chaturvargam. Chaturvargam means Dharmartha Kama Moksha, religious rituals, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Chaturvargam. The previous verse, Brahmanando Bhavedesha, Chet Parartha Gumikrita, Na eti bhakti sukhambodhe. The happiness of impersonal liberation is like a paramanu. It's atomic. Paramanu tulam. It's of atomic significance, tiny, compared to bhakti sukha ambuti, the ocean of the happiness of devotional service. So here, Catamrta, the nectar of your topics, Catamrta pata udao, viharanto mahamudaha, kurvanti kritina kechit chaturvargam trinopam, compared to the happiness of hearing. For those who take pleasure, muda, in hearing about the transcendental topics of Krishna, the Chaturvargam are as good as a straw. Trinata B, it's a trina, no better than a straw. And Srila Prabhupada in this purport is going to extensively quote from Shastric references to reinforce these points. Those who engage in the transcendental service of the lotus feet of Krishna, being relieved of all material enjoyment, have no attraction to topics of impersonal monism. In the Padma Puran, in connection with the glorification of the month of Kartik, it is stated that devotees pray, Varam Deva Moksham Namoksha Vidimva Nachanyam Praneham Pareshadapiya Idam Te Vapurnata Gopala Balam Sada Me Manasya Virashtam Kimanyai Kuver Atmajo Badhamurtyai Vayadvat Traya Mochitao Bhakti Bhajao Kritam Cha Tata Prema Bhaktim Sukam Me Priyachcha Namokshe Graho Mesti Damodareya. Dear Lord, always remembering your childhood pastimes at Vrindavan is better for us than aspiring to merge into the impersonal Brahma. During your childhood pastimes, you liberated the 2 sons of Kuvera and made them great devotees of your lordship. Similarly, I wish that instead of giving me liberation, you may award me such devotion unto you. Parenthetically, sort of editorial parentheses, these days I've seen lots of translations of these verses of Dhammadarashtakam. Originally, we published some Achyutananda's translations in the Vaishnava Songbook, his translation of this Dhammadarashtakam. It seems that in subsequent years, our Sanskrit scholars felt that the translations were unsatisfactory because they didn't gloss this word or that word. And so the result is that we have these clunky translations, which have with clauses that go on and on and on, and which may be academically accurate, but are dry as bones and impossible to, unpleasant, I would say, to try to recite. So it's really a pleasure to hear Srila Prabhupada's translation given here. The Prabhupada said people like my purports because they're realized. He said it's not simply ABCD. That was because they asked him in his last days, how will translation go on? And Prabhupada said, yes, more can be done, but people have to be qualified. And Prabhupada's idea of qualified, then he said this, it's a question of realization. It's not just ABCD. There's plenty of ABCD wallows out there in academia, but it doesn't satisfy the same way as Prabhupada's purports, because Prabhupada's purports are, as he said, realized. So it's wonderful to see. I personally relish seeing sometimes how Prabhupada will translate the same verse in different ways, from different angles, or just on different occasions give different translations. In any way, in any case, the point here is that liberation is nothing compared to the pleasure of remembering the wonderful activities that Krishna performed as Damodar in Vrindavan. Now, in the Hayashirshiya Sri Narayana Vyuha Stava, in the chapter called Narayana Stotra, it is stated, Dharma kalam artam va moksham va varadeshvara prartaye tavapadabje dasyame va bhikamaye. My dear Lord, I do not wish to become a man of religion or a master of economic development, MBA, a master of economic development or sense gratification, nor do I wish for liberation. Although I can have all these from you, the supreme bestower of benedictions, I do not pray for any of these. I simply pray that I may always be engaged as a servant of your lotus feet.
It's like the Jayadvaita verse.
Yeah. Just like Dhammadarashtakam. Nrsingadev offered Prahlad Maharaj all kinds of benedictions, but Prahlad Maharaj did not accept any of them, for he simply wanted to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, a pure devotee wishes to be blessed like Maharaj Prahlad by being thus endowed with devotional service. I think there's a similar prayer by Dhruva Maharaj. after killing the Yakshas, he was approached by Kubera and Brahma that this wholesale killing of innocent Yakshas is unbecoming. Just for the fault of one Raksha, a Yaksha, you're killing so many. This is not your duty. Please stop this. So he agreed. He stopped. And Kuvera was very pleased. So he offered him a benediction, whatever you like. Treasurer of the demigods. So Prahlad said the same thing, that I don't, Dhruva Maharaj, I don't want anything, but just give your blessings. I can always be engaged in the service of Krishna. Devotees also offer their respects to Hanuman, who always remained a servant of Lord Ram. The great devotee Hanuman prayed, Bhava Bantaj Chide Tasyai Sprihayami Namuktaye Bhavan Prabhuraham Dasa Iti Yatra Vilupyate. I do not wish to take liberation or to merge in the Brahman effulgence, where the conception of being a servant of the Lord is completely lost. So again, we're finding that Advaitacharya thinks of himself as a servant, and here that position of servanthood is being glorified, and the pleasure of being engaged in service is being described as so great that the other pleasures, the pleasure of economic prosperity or the pleasure of liberation, is insignificant by comparison. The chapter is chapter 6. 642, yeah, there it is. Okay. Similarly, in the Narada Pancharatra, it is stated, Dharmartha kama moksheshu nechcha mama kadachana tvatpada pankajas yadho jivitam diyatam mama. I do not want any of the 4 desirable stations. And this is really wrong. Oh, Adi. I do not want any one of the 4 desirable stations. I simply want to engage as a servant of the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna. King Kula Shekhar, in his very famous book, Mukundamala Stotra, prays, Naham Bande Tava Charanyor, Naham Bande Tava Charanyor, Kvanvamad Vandeheto, Kumbhi Pakam Gurumapi Hare, Nadakam Napanetum, Ramya Rama Mridu Tanu Lata, Nandane Navirantum, Pave Pave Hridaya Pavane, Pavayeyam Bhavantam. My Lord, I do not worship you to be liberated from this material entanglement, nor do I wish to save myself from the hellish condition of material existence, nor do I ever pray for a beautiful wife to enjoy in a nice garden. I wish only that I may always be in full ecstasy with the pleasure of serving your Lordship. Pave Pave Hridaya Pavane, Pavayeyam Bhavantam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are many instances. Now, I want to look at that and see how that's put together. That verse is just too interesting. Let's see if I've got, yes. Krishna, Krishna. Let's see again. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Bhave, bhave means in birth after birth. Hridaya bhavane, Hridaya bhavan, the house, the abode, the dwelling of the heart, Hridaya bhavan. Bhave, bhave, Hridaya bhavane, bhavayeyam. May I concentrate, or Prabhupada gives it here, may it be absorbed in the ecstasy. Is that how he gave it? Always in full ecstasy. Bhave, bhave, hridaya bhavane, bhavayeyam, bhavantam, by thinking of you, bhavan, bhavan, yes, you. So bhavantam, bhave, bhave, hridaya bhavane, bhavayeyam, bhavantam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, also, there are many instances in the third and fourth cantos in which devotees pray to the Lord simply to be engaged in his service and nothing else. Bhagavatam 3:4-15, 3:25-34, 3:25-36, 4:8-22, 4:9-10, and 4:20-24. Should we look at some of those? Yeah, let's look at them. 3:4-15. Kon visha te pada saroja bhajan sudurlabhorteshu chaturshvapiha tatapi naham pravarnomi bhuman avat padam boja nishavan otsuka. O my Lord, now this is Vidura speaking, devotees who engage, I think it is, or it may not be. No, it's Uddhava speaking. O my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of the four principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But, O Great One, as far as I am concerned, I have preferred only to engage in the loving service of your lotus feet. Pada Saroja Bhajam, for the devotees engaged in at your lotus feet, Pada Saroja, Sudurlabha, Arteshu, and Chaturshu, Api. Although these things are very difficult to attain, Dharmartha Kama Moksha, for the devotees it's easy. But Naham Pravarnomi, that's not what I want. Brahman, oh, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Avad Padam Pada Ambhoja, Nishavana Utsuka. I'm very eager to be engaged in service to your lotus feet. 3:25, 34. 3:25, 34. Naikatmatam me sprihayanti kechin matpada seva virata nadiha yenyon yato bhagavata prasajya sabhadriyante mama paurushani. A pure devotee attached to the activities devotional service and who always engages in the service of my lotus feet never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged always glorifies my pastimes and activities. That's not a prayer, but it's na ekatmatam. He never desires spriyayanti na. He never desires to merge. 36, that's 36. Yeah, 2 verses down. Tayar darshani ya vayavayar udara vilasa hase kshita vama suptai yutatmano rita pranamscha bhaktir anichchato me gatim anvim priyukte. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. Liberation's in the package, yes.
Is there any other scripture, any other religious tradition where these types of sentiments and feelings of the followers are expressed?
Any place else where these sorts of things are expressed? Of course, I'm not, I haven't read all the literature of the world. There's some, in the Psalms, there's some beautiful expressions of devotion. But we don't find, particularly here, Padambujam, the lotus feet of the Lord, the personal conception in Srimad Bhagavatam is so strong. Whereas in other literature, usually it's greatness and majesty or omnipresence, something of that nature. I remember there's a couple of places. One place in Istanbul, there's the Blue Mosque across the street from Hagia Sophia.
Did you go to the Blue Mosque?
Yeah.
You've been there?
Yes, that's that word. Yeah.
So it's really a grand place. It's just, the largeness of it and the what would you say? It has a quality of a divinity to it that you feel that it's almost as if it were humming or something. It's not, you can feel a divine presence, let's say. You really can feel a divine presence in this vast building, and vast and beautiful building. But there's no deity. There's nothing personal at all. So no, I don't. Of course, I don't belong to that group, and I'm sure there's so much said in expressing devotion to the Lord. But I'm sure that it's not of this nature.
It's a beautiful building.
It's a beautiful building, and the people are very devoted. I've seen that in the Muslim countries. But this expression of a personal relationship with the Lord, in a particular, in the moods expressed here, is I haven't seen elsewhere.
And the expressions made by the Lord towards his devotees.
An expression towards
that's
the
like
Lord to the devotee. On the other side, in fairness, people dedicate their lives to the service of God in all sorts of traditions. They sacrifice their lives for the service of God in other traditions. So while on one side we have this confidence and appreciation that so much richness is found in these texts, at the same time we have to appreciate that people from other traditions have great devotion to, as they say, God as they understand Him. So, how much devotion then we should have for Krishna, given that we have so much, such an abundance of information. What color hair, what kind of garlands, what his dress is like, and what he does, and how much devotion we should have, how absorbed we should be in Krishna consciousness. That was 36. Yes.
I just wanted to share that when I looked at Caitanya, there was one young woman who was taken by deprogrammers, and she was from a Jewish background, and so she came back to visit. I don't think she'd been completely deprogrammed, but she wasn't going to live with the devotees anymore. But she told that she'd been studying some mystical tradition from within Judaism, and she said it was amazing how much there was like a romantic relationship with the Supreme Lord. I don't know details, but I was impressed by that.
Yeah, I don't know Judaism well enough to be able to talk about that either. I know that Garuda has written about bridal mysticism in the Christian tradition. So there are some parallels can be drawn, but at the same time, this detailed and explicit description that we find is extraordinary. Tameva vatsashraya britya vatsalam mumukshubhir mrigya kadabja patatim ananya bhave nijadharma bhavite manasya vastapya vajashva purusham. My dear boy, this is Dhruva, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very dear to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation. Just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart, and without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. Vajashva. Four, 9, 10. Ya nirvrittis tanupratam tavapada padma jnanad bhavaj janakata shravanena vasyat sa brahmani svamahimanya pinata maput kim tvanta kashi lulinat patatam vimanat. My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from pure devotees is so unlimited that it's far beyond the stage of Brahmananda, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. since Brahmananda is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, then what to speak of the temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to the heavenly planets, which is ended by the separating sword of time. Although one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down in due course of time. Antakasi lulitat patatam vimanat. They're cut down and they fall from their airplanes, vimanat. For a while you're on the heavenly planets, you're in your airplanes, you have all of that. And then the next thing you know, down. One more. 4:20:24. Nakamaye nata tadapyaham kvachin yatra yushmach charanam pujasava mahattamantar hridiyan mukachyuto vidatsva karna yutam esha varaha. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, the benediction in which there's no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. Yes,
it's quite a collection, kind of eclectic collection of verses that Prabhupada's given, because they're not all like specifically devotees praying,
No.
But they're like Narada's instructions, the Lord describing the mood of his devotee. They're Narada's instructions to Dhruva. It's a really interesting collection.
Yeah, it's a wonderful collection of verses. There's some comments in the chat box. Let's see that I get them all. Tulsi Priya, as a child, I read different books on the lives of the Catholic saints. There is much personalism and devotion, as well as austerity. However, there are no biblical descriptions of the Lord's pastimes and form, so the devotion expressed is limited to what the saint sees in visions. Nuns are known as the brides of Christ. There are pastimes. The Lord does things. He's not just sitting there. He creates the heaven and the earth and does a whole lot of other things. But certainly he doesn't herd cows, that's for sure.
The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd.
Yeah, he's a shepherd. Well, okay, we're getting close.
And also the story of Elijah.
The story of Elijah.
Yeah, where, show me what your God can do, and now I'll show you what my God can do, and then fire got something.
There are a lot of pastimes, but they're not of the same.
No.
What do you say? Quality. They're not of the same. We don't find a one-to-one correspondence here. Mukesh says the mosque in Istanbul has blue tiles and windows. It's both beautiful and of spiritual significance. Blue is considered a holy color in Islamic culture. It symbolizes sky and heaven. but they've not mentioned the color of the Lord. It's certainly a beautiful building that we have to say. Okay, anything else from this side or that side? This explicit superiority of, oh wait, my point is that we only know God historically in the material world. We don't hear as much about what he does in his personal realm. He's not smiting the Egyptians on a daily basis. Yes, he's got better demons to smite. Prabhupada says, I hear that the Dhammadarashtakam was introduced by Srila Prabhupada. Is this true? Are there any evidence? It was introduced in two ways, and I'm trying to remember the sequence. Prabhupada did tell us to introduce the Kartik. Up until he introduced it, we didn't know anything about Kartik, didn't know it existed. Then Prabhupada told us that for the Kartik we should, it was very simple, you offer prayers and a lamp before Damodar. So, yes, I believe that Prabhupada did introduce it. If we did a folio search, I think we would find the letters from Prabhupada. I seem to recall where he tells us what to do. And it's very simple. He's not making it very complicated. But yes, this was certainly, if not introduced, backed by Prabhupada, but I think introduced also. In practical terms, it was also introduced by Achyutananda Prabhu, because he came out with that book, Prayers by the Vaishnava, Songs of the Vaishnavacharyas, and along with a cassette at the time, a tape cassette, in which he sang all the songs in the book in a very simple way, actually. It was just kartals mridanga and simple singing, and that made it easy to follow. Also, the devotees could learn. He had traditional Bengali tunes, simple traditional Bengali tunes. And the cassette at the time was very influential. Most of these bhajans, devotees didn't know. They might have heard some recording of Srila Prabhupada, but without the book, they didn't know the words. And after that book came out, the words were available, the word meanings, the tunes, the pronunciation, everything was there. So quite substantially, Achyutananda Prabhu introduced a lot of these things. The Guru Charana Padma song was introduced by Achyutananda Prabhu in that book. And then when devotees chanted it, Prabhupada, he sort of institutionalized it. Yes, you should chant this every day. So Prabhupada on one side and Prabhupada on the other.
What about the samsara prayers? When did they?
Oh, they were early. Prabhupada, on the original record album, Prabhupada's chanting the samsara prayers. So those he introduced early. Yeah. Tulsi Priya says, are you saying that chanting Dhammadarashtakam during Kartik is not a standard Vaishnava practice? No, that's not what I'm saying. Or she's just trying to understand the question. Oh, I see. She's wondering if Prabeen is asking that.
Maharaj?
Yes.
I guess what I was trying to ask is, he's saying, did Prabhupada introduce it? I'm assuming Prabhupada introduced everything, but you've clarified that Achyutananda Prabhu introduced some things. But I guess what I was getting from his question is that chanting Damodarastakam, is that something that is unique to ISKCON, or is that done amongst Vaishnavas all over India?
I don't know. I've never polled Vaishnavas all over India.
Vaishnavas all over India.
All over India, Bhagavati says. How do you know?
I've been to some temples.
She's been to temples and she's seen it, heard it. There you
Thank
go. It's not just us. That's in Kartik Mahatmya section, right, of Padma Purana or wherever it is. So it's long associated with Kartik, not just an ISKCON thing. Okay. So we're at the end of our time almost. Any other comments, questions, Adi, Prabhu, anything? Okay.
I mean, a lot of I don't remember which part of the Bible it is, maybe it's in Proverbs or something.
Excuse me?
Part of the, in Proverbs, maybe it's Ecclesiastic or somewhere, it talks about blessed are the poor, for they shall see God, or,
Blessed are the poor. That's Sermon on the Mount, right?
That's what?
Sermon on the Mount. That's
Is it? Let's see.
Yeah.
My Bible.
Yeah, we're not biblical scholars around here, but
Ecclesiastes. Somebody here is a scholar of Ecclesiastes.
but that's only one. 12 chapters out of the whole business.
What about it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God?
Yeah, harder for the rich man to enter the kingdom of God. That's Jesus also. That's not, well, I can tell you the story, but I don't know that that's, there was some rich man, and he approached Jesus and said, what do I have to do to be saved? And as I recall, and Christians or Jews could tell, Christians could tell, say better, but I believe that Jesus said, follow the commandments. What should I do to be saved? Follow the commandments. Which ones? Jesus specifies. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, so on. 10 commandments. And the rich man says, I'm doing that. So then Jesus says that, well, then give away all your money to the poor and follow me. Yeah. And that was it. He was God. So then Jesus made that remark that it's more difficult for for camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God.
I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about, like in England, they just they have a new king, and the gossip for many years surrounding his personal life and his mistress and all these things, and then the position at the coronation. He was, it was a religious ceremony that, he was anointed by God to take this position. It's like a holy position. And yet it's shocking, that he is,
Well, I don't think I'm going to comment on.
pardon?
No, I don't have a comment to make about the King of England and his consort and the dynamics of that in relationship to the Church of England. I think that's a little far afield from our subject today. So I'll decline the invitation. I think it's a little far from our subject today.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious.
I went to see an amazing cathedral last year in Wales, probably St. David's. So St. David, I got pictures of it here. It's better than the Blue Mosque, I think, because I've been to both.
Yeah, there's sort of a competition among
This
traditions
guy,
too.
St. David, he was actually a vegetarian. Yeah, and they built this beautiful church. It's really, I mean, it's about 1,200 years ago. It took 50 years to build it. But people don't go much anymore to church. They've got so many cathedrals all over England, beautiful Canterbury Cathedral, Westminster Cathedral. Beautiful buildings, but nobody hardly goes. So compare, that's why, Sanatana Dharma is the eternal religion, because now in Tirupati, people are queuing up to go to the Tirupati to see Balaji, whereas for Christian, 90% atheists in the UK. But, Sanatana Dharma is still going strong.
I think I'll stay out of this thicket of who's the most devout, who has the most followers that are the most serious and all of that. Yes, Ma?
We went to Fatima in France years ago, and in Portugal, yeah. And there was definitely some, like you said, something energy there. There was a divine energy there, definitely.
Yeah. There's all over the world, we find that there are buildings dedicated to the glorification of God. There are people who are devoted and who find great meaning in service to God. That's Prabhupada's point, that this is the Sanatana Dharma. It's not Hinduism, it's not Christianity, it's not Islam, it's not Judaism.
But at least those people who have faith and believe in God, eventually they could become followers of Sanatana.
Yeah, those who are devotees of God might become attracted to the personal feature of God, might become attracted to Krishna, certainly.
I just remembered Swarga telling me when she was distributing books. Swarga told me back in the day, she was distributing books and she met a priest. And so she was telling him what are our regulative principles and like that. And he was agreeing with her. And then she said, do you tell you're agreeing with everything I say? Do you tell your congregation? He said, oh no, they wouldn't come to church anymore.
They wouldn't come to church. Okay, so we're at the end of our hour here. We try to be prompt. Shall we have some more kirtan? Caritamrta, Prabhu, do you need
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
No, we're not exact about how long the kirtan is. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, Krishna.
Slowly sitting higher and higher.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
So literal. So literal.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare
Punaman Sukari Prad, Charja Stol to Sri Shimad. A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Thank you, Jayadvaita Prabhu. And thank you to all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, and thank you, everyone, and hope to see you tomorrow for Srimad Bhagavatam class. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Ad Ki Jai. Jayadvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hare Hare.
Are you giving class tomorrow at the time?
Yeah, I'm giving class at Raman Reddy Bhagavatam class tomorrow morning.
We have to go.
Every week.